Gears of War, guys, it's been very much so recorded here on the YouTube channel as being one of the big three, in my opinion, in all of gaming. That being, it's one of the big three, that being Call of Duty, StarCraft, and Gears of War. And so you guys know that this is a franchise I'm passionate about. And I want to talk about Gears 6 and why it should exist. So let's talk about it. So guys, Gears of War at this point has had a number of peaks and valleys, and I think we can all agree with that statement at this point. Look, Gear 6, Gear 7, and a Gears of War movie have all been confirmed by Rod Ferguson. You guys can check out that video on the YouTube channel that we've already talked about Gear 6 and a Gear 7 being confirmed, as well as a movie by none other than the studio head of the Coalition at the time, was Rod Ferguson. Now, there's a lot of question marks around Gears of War at this point because of, well, Rod Ferguson leaving. Number one would be him leaving to seek kind of new ventures, that being in the form of Diablo and the Diablo franchise over at Blizzard. And then on top of that, guys, there's been a number of other members of the Coalition that have been there since, of course, pretty much the beginning of when the Coalition was formed, and we had, Gears of War's Ultimate Edition to now, and a lot of those guys are leaving for other ventures. Seems like maybe Rod Ferguson was the first, the beginning of what is now like just a kind of a funnel of a lot of other people leaving the Coalition to go to other projects. And, all the power to him for doing those things. If you've been working on the same title for so long, there comes a point where there's a breaking point, right? And that happens with pretty much any industry whatsoever. So, Gear 6, guys, let's just say it's confirmed at this point, right, by Rod Ferguson. What I'll say is why is this a franchise that deserves to continue? Why should Gears 6 exist? Here's why. Gears 5, guys, came up with some really cool ideas. Did all of them land perfectly? Absolutely not. There was, any game is going to have its problems. Any franchise that's been going on for a number of years is going to have its ups and downs, its peaks and valleys. And Gears of War is no stranger to that, as well as any other franchise. You look at Call of Duty, it's had its peaks and valleys in significant ways, guys. Gears of War is one of the staples of gaming. It is one of the biggest staples of all of, when we talk about Xbox as a console, this is one of the staples. I mean, I believe it's probably, in the big three of the staple games of Xbox. And I mean, really, when you think about it, you could have said that maybe Fable was one of those, as well as Halo and Gears of War. But even Fable has kind of been pushed to the wayside for so long. They kind of have Halo and Gears are the two staples of Xbox at this point. Now, of course, guys, there's going to be, room for debate about that. But I just think that when you talk about just how long these franchises have been going on, the pure amount of sales they've had and success that they have had, there's really no debate about it. However, with the community and how the community has reacted to the Coalition, some of the decisions that have been made behind the scenes with the Coalition and with Gears of War and Gears 5 in particular, there's no real guarantees now. Rod Ferguson said that Gear 6 and Gear 7, as well as a Gears of War movie, were confirmed. However, now that he's gone, we haven't heard anyone else say from, Microsoft or from the Coalition that Gear 6 is still going to happen. I will say, though, that it deserves, and why it should exist is not only because it's a staple for gaming as a whole, it is a signature staple for Xbox. And it's, look, it really brought to light the Xbox Game Pass, which I believe is one of the best inventions in all of gaming at this point, for at least console-wise. It is incredible. Xbox Game Pass, guys, is a game changer, and I believe PlayStation is going to be following suit, as well as Nintendo, so on and so forth. I believe that what Xbox is doing right now is they're building this infrastructure for all of their, IP games and, their Xbox exclusives that are going to be coming out, and they're going to be specific to the Xbox Game Pass, and of course you'll be able to buy physical copies, but I think more and more people are just going to be buying the Xbox Game Pass subscription, and that way you can just play as many of those games each month as you want, and it's just a infrastructure and a business model that I think is going to work down the road. Now, so Gears 5 kind of started that, really brought it to light. And I think the next big thing, I mean, you could even argue that Gears of War, that came out with the Xbox 360 as a launch title, was kind of like a beginning ground, a great start for Xbox 360. Lots of people that bought Xbox 360 also got Gears of War. I'm one of those people, and that's how we got incorporated and really got started with the Xbox 360, which was with Gears of War. And so when you think about it, this spans all of these years, right? From 360 to the Xbox One, now to the Xbox Series X. Where's the future going? And Gear 6, guys, I think what the Coalition's doing is, look, we can compare it to other franchises. I can compare it to like what happened with 343 Industries, the ones that have been created Halo 5 Guardians, and now are doing Halo Infinite. What happened with them was they kind of took the reins from Bungie, right? After Bungie split ways with Microsoft, wanted to do their own thing, and then they were working on Destiny with Activision. So 343 Industries, they had one game under their belt, got a ton of backlash, right, with Halo 5 Guardians. So now they kind of are starting to figure things out. So that's why I believe Halo Infinite's going to be a smash hit for 343 Industries. It's going to bring Halo back 100%. They kind of figured out what they did right, wrong, and what they can do different moving forward. A lot of times, though, guys, these developers need a little bit of some time to kind of get their ground in these very established franchises. The Coalition is similar to this. I mean, they came in with Gears of War Ultimate Edition, which I thought was pretty good for what it was. Kind of got their feet wet. Then they got to Gears 4. I thought Gears 4 was pretty good. Didn't really like the story as much, but I thought that the multiplayer experience was great and everything else that they were doing was great. And then Gears 5 was another step in the right direction, in my opinion, going to a semi-open world campaign, on top of more ways than ever to connect with Gears of War. That being, of course, Horde mode, but even like the multiplayer modes, as well as, the escape mode. And then they're consistently trying to update the game to make it better and trying to listen to the community as much as they possibly can. So what does this mean? Well, what this means, guys, is that Gears 5 did really good from a scale of from the sales perspective, it really brought a lot of light to Xbox Game Pass, and so it sold very well. On top of that, the story is obviously continuing. Kate Diaz now has those reins, and she's kind of moving the story forward. And I believe that we are going to see a Gear 6 as well as a Gear 7 in the future. They deserve to exist, being not only staples of gaming, but also a staple of Xbox. It's also that this story is far from over, in my opinion. And I think that there's a lot more story left to be told, as well as with Gears Tactics launching, amongst, more ways than ever that you can connect with this franchise. What do I always talk about on this YouTube channel, guys? Having full package deal games is the best part of gaming. Not just having a single player story to play and then you're done, you go on to another game. Not having just a co-op mode where you play with your friends but nothing else. Not just having a multiplayer experience where all you do is multiplayer. It's having all of it in one. It's the best of all of those worlds. Gears of War has that. Call of Duty has that. StarCraft has that. I mean, there's a number of games that have that, but a lot of games have it but haven't been able to sustain it over a long period of time. Similar to Gears of War. Gears of War is a special franchise, guys. We cannot let Gears of War die. And I don't think Microsoft is going to allow it to happen. Like, let's just say the coalition, all the people working for the coalition decide, oh, we're all going to start working on other games and things of that nature. Microsoft's going to hire another development team to work on Gears of War because it's such a staple of gaming, and they know that. And it's also, I mean, it makes them a lot of money as well. Now, is it as much as like maybe some of the other games like Call of Duty? No, but it's still going to make Microsoft a lot of money in the long run because it's an Xbox exclusive, and they're trying more now than ever to build their Xbox exclusives to a significant point. So Gears 6, guys, I believe it needs to happen. I believe that it needs to exist in gaming as a whole, but also because there's so much more story left to be told. I want to see a continuation of it, whether you're talking from the perspective of Kate Diaz, or if we go back to, taking the reins with Marcus Phoenix or JD, if maybe he comes back and is a part of canon. And, so many things, guys, that I think need to happen in Gears of War. And it's got like such a dark, gritty, but it's kind of story, but it's got so much heart as well. So much of that, like, that camaraderie, that, there's just so much in it, guys, that hits so many different emotions, and it just deserves to continue. And I've said it about like StarCraft. I mean, I think StarCraft 3, guys, on the YouTube channel, I've talked about StarCraft 3 on a number of occasions, that this is a game that needs to be made to continue the StarCraft legacy. Gears of War is like that. I mean, I just think that it needs to continue. We all know that Call of Duty, they've made a ton of Call of Duty games, and they make them every year. And you guys know how big Call of Duty is. I mean, every year it's the best-selling game every single year. That tells you something. Gears of War, guys, is kind of like a Call of Duty, but just on Xbox. So it's like on a much smaller scale. It's like any Gears of War game that comes out, the community's gonna show up and is going to play it. Regardless of whether you're talking about Gears of War 3, which I thought was the prime of this franchise, or if you're talking about Gears of War Judgment, which I thought was the downfall, the dark ages of Gears of War. The community showed up for that, regardless of what it was, to check it out at least. And the community's going to do that for Gears Tactics. It's going to do it for Gears 6. It'll do it for Gears 7. It'll go to the movies to watch a Gears of War film. Guys, all in all, Gears of War deserves to continue. This is a staple in gaming. And I want to hear your guys' thoughts on it. Let me know in the comment section below what your guys' thoughts on it. Do you want to see a Gears 6 at this point? Why do you think it should exist, or why you think it shouldn't exist? Let me know what you guys think, and for more Gears 6 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV.